What if I told you that some of the most meaningful things you can do in Moldova have no ticket booth, no opening hours, no Instagram hashtag, and are not listed in any other travel guides for Moldova? What if the best way to understand a country is not to see it, but to actually do what the people there do? I lived in Moldova for 2 years, and these are the 6 cultural experiences that I recommend to any traveler looking to visit Moldova for them to be able to say, I visited Moldova. Moldova is one of those countries that travelers either skip entirely or breeze through in a day or 2 or 3 on the way to somewhere else. And I get it. It's not heavily marketed. It's not on most bucket lists, but that's exactly why it's worth visiting. Because when you do visit it, you find a country that is genuinely quite extraordinary. So let's jump into it. The first thing I want you to do, and I mean this, is ride a Marshrutka. A Marshrutka is a shared minibus, and it's how Moldovans usually get around. It connects every town, every village, every corner of this country, with even small ones running through the capital to this day. And it costs genuinely less than $1 for most local routes. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would I want to ride a crowded minibus on my vacation that I just paid a lot of money for? And here's my answer. You're not riding it for the comfort. You're riding it because you are sitting shoulder to shoulder, or standing in some cases, with real people going about their daily lives. And it can get kind of crazy, I'm not going to lie. You'll have the babushka with the bag of fresh vegetables from the Piața Centrală. You'll have students heading back to university. You'll have a farmer going to the next town or village, getting off in the middle of a road that you're like, where are they going? But on some occasions, you'll have people holding real live chickens. I've been on one with an actual washing machine. I don't know how they got it in there, but it was there. And each ride's promised for entertainment. These were the main way that I got around Moldova, between cities, towns, villages, around the capital. And those rides gave me more insight into Moldova than any other museum or cookie cutter tourist attraction did for me there. The next one is to eat traditional Moldovan food. And honestly, if you don't do this, that's quite impressive, because there's not many other food options for you to try at this point in time in Moldova. And if you still manage to find a way to do it, I'll be disappointed, because Moldovan food is one of the most underrated cuisines in all of Europe. There are a few dishes that I need you to try for you to say that you visited Moldova. At the very top is zeamă. It's basically their version of chicken noodle soup, but it's all homemade, and you need to order it at a local cantina, family restaurant, just not a tourist spot, because then you're not going to get the real thing. The next one is plăcintă. These are thin pastry pies folded by hand, from anything from brinza to potato to cabbage to sweeter ones like sour cherries. I know that sounded backwards, but it is sweeter, I'll tell you. The last one I'll recommend is mămăligă. Think of it as like polenta. It's a thick cornmeal porridge that's served alongside almost everything. You have sarmale, that's also Romanian. It's stuffed cabbage rolls braised until they fall apart, with sometimes meat or veggies. And if you're brave, pickled watermelon. I know, it's actually a lot more common than you think, and very good. Do not leave Moldova without eating at a cantina. These are the old Soviet-style cafeteria setups where you have a bunch of different places to choose from, and they're usually underground or on a side street, completely full with locals, but they're always cheap and always real. The next one is to learn how to make Mărțișor and to give one to a local if you find yourself visiting during the spring. This is one of my favorite on the whole list, and it's one that a lot of people still don't really know about. For Moldova, the celebration really starts on March 1st, and there's a lot of local celebrations that go around with it. But people usually start selling and making their Mărțișor before. Mărțișor are usually handmade amulets or pendants that you can wear or hang up, made with red and white twisted together with small charms. And this whole tradition comes from different legends, stories that vary depending on where you are in the Balkan region. Together, they represent the turning of the season, winter giving way to spring. What I want you to do is to find a workshop, or if you're there in the spring, to ask some of the locals or the hosts that you're with to see what workshops are available around for you, or if they can show you how to make a Mărțișor. And then give it to someone, either in Moldova or someone back home. You don't need to speak perfect Romanian, but the gesture translates completely. The next recommendation is one that I cannot miss, and it has to deal with wine. You can't go to Moldova and not try the wine. But if I were to recommend certain time to try the Moldovan wine, I would say on Moldova's National Wine Day at the beginning of October, or Gagauz Wine Festival in the south, usually at the end of October, beginning of November. Moldova is one of the oldest winemaking regions in the world. And yet no one talks about it. I like to say it's like the hidden Napa Valley, but less crowds, cheaper, better wine. So why not visit during the national holiday? The city basically turns into an enormous outdoor wine festival with wineries from all over the country bringing their bottles for you to sample. And throughout the day, there's folk music, winemaking, or cultural classes. There's dancing, concerts. It's just a lot of fun. And then in the south, for the one in Gagauzia, this one's a little bit different because it's unique to Gagauz culture. And they have their own winemaking traditions. So for this day, you'll see a lot of different food items, wines, traditional dress coming out to celebrate this festival with their own music, their own concert, and their own dancing. If you can time your trip around either of these events, do it. And if you can do both, you'll start to understand more of Moldova at a cellular level. Our next experience would be a visit to the local market, either in one of the cities you visit, but the main one is Piața Centrală in Chișinău. Wherever you are, you must find the local Piața, the market. This is one of the most alive places in the cities. They're covered, they're loud, they're colorful. There's a lot of haggling, and they contain anything from fresh produce to chainsaws to clothing. Honestly, you can find everything here. It's a one-stop shop, but as an actual outdoor market. It's the kind of market where you go in for one thing and you come out an hour later having maybe like 3+ conversations with different vendors and bought something you didn't even know you needed. Make sure to bring a bag, learn how to say cât costă, how much does this cost? And then just wander. This is the Moldova that doesn't exist in any travel article, but it's the Moldova I think about the most. There is one more that I will have to mention. So it's a little bit of a bonus. It's not just Moldova, but which is how most of you will arrive to it, but it's one of the most cinematic travel experiences in Moldova. If you haven't heard the Eurovision song Traditional, you got to give it a listen. But this is essentially the Soviet sleeper train, Chisinau to Bucharest. It departs from Chisinau every evening and arrives in Bucharest 13 to 14-ish hours later, depending on how it runs. But it is the last Soviet sleeper train in Europe. For real. The carriages are original Soviet era. The compartments have those fold-down bunks. And you cross the Prut River, the border between Moldova and Romania, in the middle of the night, which is an interesting experience because they're essentially lifting the train off the tracks while they change the Moldovan type and the Romanian one for the train. And you wouldn't even know that the train is lifted. It's really cool. And with this train, it's not like you just get on and you hang out in your cabins. People are up and mingling. People are drinking, playing card games and chatting. It's a really fun experience. And again, if you haven't listened to Traditional and haven't checked out the music video, it's definitely kind of a representation of what that experience looks like. Moldova is a country that rewards the traveler who slows down and isn't afraid to try something new. Those who take the Marshrutka instead of a taxi, those who sit in a cantina instead of the hotel restaurant, those who take the time to learn how to twist the red and white strings together to create a Mărțișor to give to a stranger. These are not tourist activities. They're invitations. And Moldova will let you in if you show up that way. I would love to know, is Moldova on your travel list now? Have you already been? What surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one and would love to hear your thoughts about Moldova, which is very close to my heart. And if this is your first time here, welcome to Cultura Travel, where we put the guidebook down. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Thank you.